Hello everyone!
Hi!
Welcome to our very first series of
Our
Lives
Lives, No
Filter.
Filter.
So you might be wondering, what is this all about? So we want to let you know what this talk is about.
And why are we doing it? So I know it's kind of random, especially in the midst of this pandemic, but I think that's the best part. That's the reason why we're doing it, because a lot of us are stuck at home, or just we have apparently just no social life at the moment. So we just wanted to bring this little actual conversation, deep conversation talk to you guys on your screens, because I think it's the best way for all of us to connect, to reach you guys. Some of us can't see each other at church, we just see each other on the screens, but to have this kind of conversation, you guys don't really talk about it to yourselves, and I think it's great that me and Jess can be able to kind of execute it and help you guys kind of talk about it and think about it.
Yeah. So before we dive into our first series that will talk about anxiety, we want to introduce ourselves to some of you that might not know us yet. Let me adjust this. Camera is falling down. So hi, I'm Jess. I am a working professional. I work as a designer. I've been here in the United States for almost 9 years. It's 9 years now. I was from Indonesia, Jakarta, and I flew here to pursue higher education, go to college, and now I'm here, planning to stay.
Yes, and my name's Audrey. I am in my second year of college at community college right now, and I'm in the process of transferring, and I am Indo-American. I was born in America, but raised by Indo parents, and yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So let's dive into our first topic, that is about anxiety. So if you follow me, or if you follow Audrey on Instagram, you might have already saw our story asking about what is anxiety to you. So for me, the responses that I get for this anxiety question, many of them actually talk about anxiety is about fear, like fear of the unknown, fear and overthinking, worrying about what's going to happen in the future. And I think it's kind of get amplified since this shelter in place started, this pandemic started, plans get canceled, so everything becomes so uncertain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but how about you? What kind of responses did you get?
Well, so considering I'm from I guess a younger age group kind of followers, they
Not that far though.
Not that far. She's still very young. But yeah, so they often talk about social anxiety and identity anxiety, and even talking about what is anxiety to them. People say it's like a monster that always it's a monster that always kind of follow them wherever they go, and they can't get away from it, and it's never ending, and I think I relate to that so much, don't you? It's something that you can't get away from.
To be honest, I think social anxiety does not only exist in the younger generation. I think even as you grow older, you actually have that, but maybe people don't really talk about it.
There's probably different levels.
Yeah, different levels. I think it depending on the season of life that you are in, you experience different kind of anxiety. Even for me as a working professional, I also have social anxiety. I don't know how to carry myself. I sometimes have thoughts oh, do they like me? Will they invite me to their parties? Will they invite me to their gathering? Why are they not inviting me to their gathering? And I'm all these things are happening in my head,
Yeah, it's totally relatable. And I think for college students or even high schoolers, so I also talk, and I'm in ministry for high school students, and they often talk about that. Social anxiety, it's their image, they need to keep up with something, or else no one is going to accept them, or even just for themselves, they don't know what kind of identity they are. And for sure, I'll just say I'm also going through stuff like that. Even until now, it's I'm being Indo-American. I have to kind of segregate myself into if I'm in my Indo church or Indo community, I have to try to be Indo, but sometimes I'm too American for them. So I'm just oh. And then with my American friends, they're just oh, you kind of you're very Asian ethnic. I was I mean, aren't I? So it's just I don't know.
It feels like you're in the limbo of what kind of person do I want to be.
Yeah. So, yeah, and also, guys, a little disclaimer, we are also not psychologists. If you guys are wondering why we're talking about it, we just want to share with you guys our own personal experience and get to know each other from a deeper level. So, yeah.
So, I think you mentioned about like being Indonesian American and don't know how to be, and even in my workplace, I also experienced that kind of like battling with those kind of thoughts, because I do think that I'm more Indonesian. Like the people that I hang out with are mostly like me, that like they came here for college and then they decided to stay here and work here. So when I'm in front of them, I'm in most of the time I'll be speaking in like gado-gado. If you guys know, like you'll be mixing English and Indonesian at the same time.
Yeah.
But then when in the workplace, I will start to be more conscious, you know, like I want to blend in. I want to be able to speak right. I want my vocabulary to be like, oh, top, you know.
Exactly.
And one thing I just want to share. So in the workplace, I'm actually now assigned to like do a workshop, and it was so daunting to me because it's the first workshop that I will ever lead, and I was actually consulting many of the seniors in my department, like, hey, what do I do? What should I say? And to be honest, like there was one point where he was like, why are you scared? And when he told me like, you are not trying to change their perspective, you're just trying to share, and you don't have to be scared because even in the workplace I've been doing presentations and all that, and he said that I've been doing well and all that. And so like he told me like, you know that you're asked to do a workshop because they believe that you can do it, right? And I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that. And so like it's sometimes with anxiety and putting ourselves out there, we can get very we scrutinize ourselves really hard.
We're very vulnerable like in our state and stuff like that. And like for me, I can relate to that, especially because we go to Indo church. By the way, me and Jess are from the same church, because this is going to be released on our church account anyways. But yeah, so being an Indo-American, especially, my parents raised me under speaking Indonesian, but because I wanted to fit in with my American friends or my American school, I just said English only. So, and then coming into an Indonesian church, everyone is always speaking Indo, and like I understand very much, and like I can understand to an extent. Like if you talk really fast, like blah, 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 I'm like, yes, I don't know what you said. So I would obviously like campur or like the words like, oh, this means something in Indo, it means something else like in my head. But like, yeah, that's for me. But for me, for us, for social anxiety, how do we conquer it? Like personally to ourselves. I think that's what a lot of our viewers are also like thinking about, why we're making this video. It's like, how do we kind of battle ourselves within that kind of anxiety?
To be honest, for me, it's about like what you speak to yourself, you know, because I think through both of our experience through this conversation, I'm hearing like it's all about like us asking ourselves like, oh, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like, what can I do better? You know, like we keep on telling ourselves like, what can I do more? Why can't I be more like A? Or why can't I be more like B? You know, like. And those kind of thoughts actually attracts negativity, and like, and it really clouds our mind, you know, like it makes us forget about our own capabilities sometimes, our qualifications, because everyone is gifted, and everyone is going through different things, but because of the things that we see today, like on Instagram or on social media, we start to have this standard like that. Oh, we have to have everything put together. Like we have to have everything right and perfect, and we have to have this set up on at work so that we can be more functional or more productive. Like that demands that, and standards that we set on ourselves, because the things that we see and see on the internet, we start to like tell ourselves like, oh, there's something wrong with me. There needs something to be fixed within me.
And I think that's like also one of the
unstable.
One of the downsides of being in the pandemic also is that not only feeling loneliness by ourselves, but because we're by ourselves, we're so consumed with whatever's on the phone.
Yeah.
And because whatever's on the phone, social media, it's like she said, whatever we see, we kind of want to reflect that upon our lives because everyone's doing, and how come we aren't? And we kind of feel insecure and think like, I'm not like that. Is there something wrong with me?
Yeah.
Like,
What's wrong
with me? Why am I so different? Like, why am I lacking? And I think that's like the biggest part that we think. Why are we lacking?
And those actually feeds to your anxiety even more.
Exactly. Yeah. And like personally for me, how I go through it, this is how I kind of execute my anxiety and kind of fight through it. It's a suggestion if you want to follow what I'm doing, but for me, it's how I do it is that sometimes it's really bad in the beginning for me. I kind of isolate myself from people, but then but then I realize, you know, for me, if I go to a care group or just like fellowship with my members from church, it helps me so much because how I do that, it's like I don't have to talk first. They can talk first, actually. They speak about themselves, and I feel like, wow, like this is an open space for me. Like I can actually speak to like upon about myself. And care group is a huge factor for me, actually. I'm really close to two of my members, like, and they give me great advice. Like, and it's not something that they actually suggest to follow, but they just give you like, you know, their concerns and also try to help you bring God into the plan, you know.
They kind of give you a safe space to like, hey, just tell me what's wrong, you know, like we won't judge you. I think, and even for me, when I'm going through some sort of anxiety, I will also find my people that I trust, that I know will speak truth to me, like will give me inspiration, or even give me the comfort, so that I will feel like I'm not alone. Like this is normal. Like everyone is going through something, and you shouldn't blame yourself for it. You shouldn't like scrutinize yourself for it. It's okay. It's okay to make mistake, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to be afraid and to be worried, because everyone is going through that at a different scale, of course.
And we also understand there are some people who actually don't like to be around people, and I think the best way personally, how if I do it alone, it's that I always try to talk to God about it, or I at least try to
have a quiet time.
have to admit to yourself that you're having this feeling. Because if you don't face it on, then it's always going to linger on, right? But for me, the best way is just, you know, leaning towards God, because when you pray, prayer is such a powerful weapon, like for any scenario, and God really conquers that just slowly but surely, you know. And that's something that I think it's really helpful for me, but it could be helpful for you if you guys want to try that out as well. But what about you? What other like anxieties, like how do you conquer them besides just being with people and stuff like that?
I do sometimes take walk, but I think having a quiet time is really helpful for me as well. I like to read books, even though I don't have much time for that. But then I do find that when I read books, I can actually get a fresh perspective on like the truth that God wants to tell me. Reading the Bible and sometimes going through like devotion, like reading devotions too will really help, because it helps to feed my anxiety the right medicine in a way. Like you don't want to read content that leads you to spiral down even more. You want to spring up from that rock bottom, right? And
you need truth.
You need to speak the truth you need to speak truth. Even like it's almost as simple as like following the right profile on Instagram would really help, because through those inspiring stories and inspiring content, you'll be able to like get a more optimistic perspective and worldview of things.
So of course, like social media, we said there was a cons before, but there's also pros. You just need to follow whatever is right for your mental health. And like right here in this conversation, we want to talk about mental health because we know it's not something that we can easily talk about to ourselves. But I think that's, you know, it's really something that we all go through, and I know that not only ourselves but you guys too, and we just want to sympathize with you that, you know, you are not alone. For sure.
I think another thing that came to me, like as I was thinking more about this talking about anxiety, I think many of the times we put our confidence in the wrong place. Like we put our confidence in ourselves to conquer something. We put confidence in people's likes or people's responses. But when you put confidence in God, that really changed everything. Like when I'm worried about something and I ask myself, like, who says that you are not able to do it? Like, and then I'm like, what do you think God will say about this? And I started thinking like, oh, right, He will not allow me to go through something that I will not be able to handle. And it's not like it's not that when I'm going through something He's just a bystander. He just like look at me at the side. No, He's actually beside me, and He's like, hey, I'm here, like reach out to me, like call out to me. I'm here for you. I'm your Father, and I want to be here with you. Like let's talk. Like you can talk to your Father. Like that's what prayers are for. And so I think through that it really helps me to evolve, like to spring up. You know?
And I think, in the Bible, it always often talks about or brings many stories about the disciples, and you need to realize that they're actually never alone in their journey. And that also should reflect upon us, considering that whatever we read in the Bible, reflects us, in our lives. And they're never alone. You should never battle or go through your journey alone, even though you physically think like, oh, someone doesn't need to be next to me, but God is with you all the time. Always remind that God is with you in your hearts and wherever you are. And I think the best Bible verse for that is Ecclesiastes 4 verses 9 to 10, and that reads, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. And I think that's a good reminder that like God will always pick you up, or someone in your life who brings truth to you and who you trust and who you actually talk to, they can bring you up. And I think that's the best encouragement that we can use to fight our anxieties. And for you guys too, that's the best way. But
so that's all we have for you. I think we have gone really long, but thank you for staying and watching our first series. If you have any suggestions on what we should talk about next, or if you want to join us in this talk, we are more than happy to have you. And so leave some comments down below and we'll respond back. And if you want to reach out to us personally,
follow our Instagrams. And also, like, if you want to get to know more of our church, like, go on their social medias. You can check on IFGF Pinole on Facebook. And also, just if you want to look at our website, where you can also find links to our sermons every Sunday, it's going to be ifgfpinole.org.
Okay, see you guys next time. I hope this has bring clarity and enlightenment to you.
Okay.
Bye.